Hello music techie people. So what we're going to look at today in our final tutorial of compression is something called parallel compression, often called upwards compression or New York compression. So this is basically a process where you're going to mix down your drums and have an uncompressed signal and then mix them down and send them to a separate bus with a compression that's really strong and almost over compresses the signal. So it gets its name from that aspect of an electric circuit where you've got one going straight to the output and one going through the overly compressed signal. So you're sending two almost at the same time. In terms of it being called New York compression, that's simply because it was favoured by New York producers. So the basic idea is that the human ear can hear sudden sounds being reduced. So loud sounds being reduced we can hear really well, but softer sounds being made louder we can't hear that well, and it's because of this it's called upward compression. So the main idea is you're going to take the lower sounds and raise them up. Okay, so what I've got here is some basic drums recorded, just a few bars. So I'll play you those first. Okay, just nice and simple. It is a good idea to get a basic mix before you start your parallel compression. What I'm then going to do, I'm going to go down to my mixer page and open that window. And you can see I've EQ'd the drums, put a noise gate on the kick, and just basically got a nice balance for them, panned them, and okay, it's sounding quite good. What I'm going to do then is create an auxiliary, a stereo auxiliary, and it'll be through this that we send our bus drum tracks. So if I click on this button here, Logic comes up with new auxiliary channel strips, and I just want one to begin with and a stereo one. And I click create. Now, you can see here that the output, which is the bottom one of these two lighter grey squares, is where the signal's sent. And I want to send all this to the input of this auxiliary. I'm just going to quickly call this normal. And this will be our dry sound, our uncompressed sound. And I do that by selecting all my channels. And I'm going to go from the output and go to bus 1 and 2, and it's already created a track for me. Okay, and then on the input of this auxiliary channel I'm going to go input bus 1 and 2. So now what we're doing is sending all those drums to this one auxiliary. This is often called a submix, and you can do this even if you're not doing parallel compression, just to get a basic level and have one fader for all your drums. So let's just make sure that that signal's coming through on just this submix. Okay, so there's our drums. What I'm going to do now is create a second auxiliary channel, and this will be our wet channel. This will be the overly compressed one, the parallel compression one. So I click on the auxiliary channel strip again stereo, Bosch, and we'll call this parallel. Okay, and we put the input again as bus 1 and 2, so the signal is going to here and also to here. Let's just check we've got a signal. Okay, so exactly the same as the one next to it, and now it's on this channel that I put the compression. So I go just like on any other normal channel strip, inserts, dynamics, and compressor. Now, you can afford to go quite over the top with the compression on this. So just like when you're compressing any other track, like a bass guitar or maybe vocals, you start with the threshold. Let's start to get a signal here in the gain reduction. So we're getting a nice strong signal there, and we've set our threshold. Next, we're going to set the ratio. Now I want this quite high. I'm going to start off at about 7 and see if we get quite a punchy sound with that, and then if we need to make any adjustments, we will do. Okay, straight away you can hear that it's pumping the sound. You're getting a really nice punch to it. I'm going to bring down slightly the attack so we get the beginning of the transient, so it's working straight away. And I'm also going to bring down the knee. If you remember, if it's a hard knee, okay, that means that as soon as it gets to the threshold, it's compressed and not before. And if it's a soft knee, the compressor starts to gradually compress the signal before the actual threshold. So I'm going to have it about there, and let's see what that sounds like. I'm also going to start to bring up this gain so we get those quieter sounds a lot louder in the mix, a lot more punchier. Okay, so that's a basic setting for our compressor. We're going to get rid of that now. And I'm going to set, so I just hear the normal uncompressed signal, okay? It's not uncommon to actually put a little bit of compression on this track, but we won't do that now. We're just showing you the basic principles of parallel compression. And then you have the parallel one with the heavily compressed here, this one here, okay? So let's play the normal one. We'll bring down the parallel one, and what we're going to slowly do is bring up the parallel compression so it sits behind the dry mix, and then we've got that nice balance of the dynamics of the original, but also this sort of excited version that's giving you more punch. Okay, so I'll bring up the parallel one now. So about there seems to fit really nicely, and you can hear that it's actually giving it a nice excited, more punch, and it anchors the whole sound of the drums. What I'm also going to do, which is quite common for parallel compression, is put an EQ on this submix. I'm going to bring down all the really low frequencies, okay, and give it a bit of a punch in this low end, and bring up the air so we get this nice sort of tinny, sort of excited sound. And this is often called a smile EQ, as you can tell. So I'll get rid of that. Let's just have a listen to the original first, and then we'll bring in again this parallel version. There you can tell on the snare and on the kick it's a lot more excited, a lot more punch. And on the hi-hat, as it's closing and opening, it's got a lot more sort of excited, it's just a lot more interesting to listen to. So let's have a listen again, just to the full sound now.